Yo, what is going on, guys? Miguel here. So today we're coming at you with the ALM model and what is it, how it's helping me convert more buyers in this specific market, and why it works. So let's start off. So if you guys haven't been here before, my name's Miguel. I'm a real estate agent out in the London, Ontario, Canada market. I've been licensed since April 2022. So I'm coming up to the completion of my second full calendar year in this industry, and it's been great. So if you guys know anyone that's looking to go to London, Ontario, surrounding area, about 40 minutes out, more than happy to help them out. So let's begin the ALM model. So what is the ALM model? So it is a model you're going to use to convert the majority, if not all, of your buyers, right? Okay, like that come from a sign call or a realtor lead, right? So to make it a bit simpler, being out in Canada, it's kind of probably the same in the States, but I'm a solo agent, right? Now there's some team models, right, where they maybe get leads that come in, I don't know, stuff like that. For me, I'll just give you my own personal situation. I'm a solo agent, so I don't get like leads. I built everything from door knocking, really. So my unknown buyer leads will come from one of two things, right? A sign call, or it's going to be from realtor.ca, where it says a potential buyer hasn't inquired on your listing, either just can I get more information, or they'd like to book a showing. It's one or the other two. So through those two inquiry methods, the ALM model is exactly what I use, and it's been very, very effective for me. Why is that? Well, let's first start with what is ALM. So ALM stands for appointment, location, and motivation. So the breakdown of it is you're essentially trying to forget all the pre-qualifying process with the buyer, stuff like that, and just go meet them there and get a little more information, right? Try to build that rapport. Because what happens is a lot of people will get a buyer inquiry and they're going to be like, okay, like let's start, like, what are you looking for, blah blah blah, like, are you pre-approved, are you working with anyone else? Like, some of those questions obviously you have to ask up front, but I'll tell you what I do. Okay, so if a buyer lead comes in, I'm gonna say, okay, hey, thanks for your interest on this. Are you looking to, what time are you looking to view it? Like, I'm just gonna go right away. No other question. I'm just gonna go right to the appointment. Now, obviously, it depends where the conversation's going, right? Some people like to are a little bit more open, maybe a bit more chatty. Really, just go in the direction of the conversation, kind of gauge it from there, right? But the majority of the time, the rule of thumb is, hey, thanks for inquiring on the property. Obviously, the listing agent. When are you looking to see it? Like, what's your next available time to go see it? Book them in, right? See what their slot is, book them in for that available time. And then on top of that, the last thing you want to ask, the only other question I really ask is, again, unless the conversation goes elsewhere, I'll say, okay, just so I'm aware, are you working or signed with any other agent, right? Because if they say yes, I need to direct them to their agent, because I'm going to waste my time if I go there and they have a realtor, right? Okay, so that's the only question I ask up front. When they're pre-approved, all that stuff, I save it for the end. Now, sometimes they bring it up, or the conversation directs into that conversation where you can bring it up, right? Because they're a little bit more comfortable. The main purpose of going for the appointment right away is because you're just trying to build some credibility and rapport with that buyer for that time when you go see him. Does that make sense? So basically, that's your main goal, with just booking the appointment. Now, let's talk about why it's working in this market, though. So we're currently I think everywhere is in the same boat, where we're in a more balanced market, right? We're not, if I'm comparing it to the market we were in back in 2021, 2022, this method wasn't really a thing, mainly because you would have had so many buyer inquiries. If you're a listing agent, right, you'd have a ton of buyer inquiries. Again, I was not part of this market. I got licensed when the market shifted here in Ontario. But if you, let's say, have a bunch of listings and the market's moving so fast and people are just like, you're getting a bunch of buyer inquiries, you're going to waste a lot of time going out on all these buyer appointments, right? So it mainly becomes a matter of a shift in the market causes for a different strategy, right? So before, you would have obviously asked, like, are you pre-approved? Because you're going to only go, the market moves so fast, like things sold so quick and so many buyers just wanted what they couldn't have, essentially. So it would be reasonable to ask those questions, okay? Now, the market's slower, you're going to take this approach. It's going to work really well. It has worked extremely well for me, and this is why I do so much buyer business. I primarily go for listings, but my buyer business is usually about 5% higher. It's almost 10% higher this year than my seller's selling side. So the idea is, so you got the appointment booked, right? So the next two are the location, motivation. Now, some of the stuff they're going to tell you over the phone, right? Again, it depends where the conversation is going, but for the sake of this, we're just going to go by the standard rule of thumb, where I'm going to go get the appointment, get the consultation essentially done at the showing, right? Now, before we dive into that, I just want to lay out the agenda with the follow-up plan, right? Because here's the thing. A general rule of thumb, if a lead reaches out to you, you're going to have a 5-minute rule where you're going to have a very high chance. I think it's like a 90, is it an 85 or a 90% chance to hit them within a 5-minute span. So when you see, unless you're at a listing appointment or you're on off hours, whatever, once you see a buyer lead come in, do whatever you can to just get to it, right? Give them a double tap method. So I'll give them a call. If they don't pick up, I give them a call right away. Now, that's within the first 5 minutes. Now, if we're at a listing appointment, went by an hour, they're likely still going to be there, but you might have to follow up a little bit more. So how do you do the follow-up, right? I go by a 3x3x3, which is kind of for, I guess I could do a whole nother video on this, but to summarize that, that's your follow-up plan, right? So you're going to try to hit them twice with a phone call, right? Just send them a voicemail. And then after that, you're going to go 3x3x3. So you're going to do, for 3 days straight, you're going to do a text, phone call, email, and try to mix them up throughout the days, right? But phone call in the morning, text in the afternoon, whichever works best for your schedule, right? Just try to hit them 9 times, because somewhere in that time frame, if they haven't picked up on the first call, they're going to pick up likely between the 5th or the 6th one. Okay, so just keep at them if you don't get them on the initial appointment, okay? So the next part we're going to go to is the location and motivation. So this is where you're actually meeting them, you're going to discuss all that, right? Now, some people may follow the ALM model a little bit differently. Like I said, they're going to discuss a little bit more questions on the phone. But me, I built my whole business door knocking. I'm going to do what I can to sell them on the spot, right? So as long as they're not working with a realtor, even if they're not ready to go now, they are going to be some time down the line, and I want to be that person who's going to help them and have the highest chance and probability to do so. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to basically treat that showing like a buyer consult. So it's my listing, right? I'm going to block out an hour for it. Okay, so we're going to go, by the way, when I go to the listing, I don't always do it, but again, depending on where the conversation goes, they'll say, hey, is there any other properties of similar interest you want to go see? But mainly for the first appointment, I'm trying to set that up as a consultation, then branch out to use that as an excuse to find more appointments. We'll get that into that after when you leave the appointment. But the first appointment is going to be treated like your consultation, right? So me, it's very, very rare I do a buyer consultation, okay? So I don't work by the methods of sit down, do a buyer consult, and get a signed contract, right? The way buyers operate, and this is a very important rule of thumb, is buyers, especially now, will work with a realtor based almost fully on how you make them feel, right? If you are warm, welcoming, you match their personality, and you show up as someone who's very well demonstrated, I guess you could say, like someone who knows what they're talking about and knows the market, chances are you're probably going to earn their business over your competition, right? So when I go there, okay, I'm going to show them the home, right? And then like, oh, do you have dogs? I'm gonna like throw in random things while I'm showing the home, like, oh, how many pets do you have? Do you have dogs? There's some good neighborhood walking trails around here. How many kids do you have? They might be there, I don't know. But you're gonna ask questions as you go around the home, like, oh, the bathroom's great. Like, do you think this might be a good use? And they start asking, try to get their situation more as you're showing them around the home, right? So after I'm done showing around the home, I'm usually gonna sit down with them at a kitchen table, or might step outside in the backyard, wherever's comfortable. Just find a comfortable spot that's going to work for you guys to just sit down and discuss for 15 to 30 minutes, right? And at that point, you're going to treat that like a consultation. You're going to ask them, okay, like what's important to you about the 4 bedrooms? What's your ideal time frame looking like? Are you pre-approved, right? If you don't already know yet. And if they're not pre-approved, set them up on your lender, right? Get them to your lender, and then you should know in about 3 days' time if they're good to actually go ahead with their ideal budget. Regardless, your job as a buyer's agent is to set them in the proper direction. Some of that may include getting a pre-approval, right? But when you're at that appointment, you're treating it, even though it's a showing, you're treating it like a consultation. Does that make sense? So basically, you're going to walk in there. It's a full-on buyer's consultation. You're building rapport, right? You're beating out your competition that's going like, okay, are you pre-approved? Because I still know a lot of agents who won't show a home without a pre-approval, which for me is not correct. Now we'll get into how to work around that, but the first showing, I'm always going to give someone, my general rule of thumb, guys, when I'm showing a buyer, is I'm going to give you one showing, right? There may be some exceptions depending on where they're at in the situation, but if they don't have a pre-approval, they're going to get one showing, right? Just because I can meet them, set them up on a strategy, and then at that point they know where to go. But the general rule of thumb is I'll show anyone a home once. Okay, does that make sense? So they get a free pass is basically what it is. So after I discuss their location, motivation, everything I need to know, and I've done a good job building rapport, before I leave that appointment, guys, this is key. Before you leave that appointment, find out when they're next available, when their next best times are available. Book them in for a grouping of showings. Say, hey, look, what's your, before we leave today, just want to know, I'm happy to take you guys out for showings, assuming they're pre-approved already. If not, then obviously wait till they're pre-approved and be in touch with them until then. But let's just assuming they're pre-approved already. Hey guys, I understand this may not be a good fit, right? Now there is times, keep in mind that they will actually enjoy the property. I just had that where I double-ended the listing. You may actually double in the listing, right? But assuming that this doesn't work, again, this is like your office space. You're just doing a buyer consultation. Before you leave, you're going to say, okay, guys, just so I'm aware, when's your next availability? I'm happy to show you another grouping of homes that are going to be best calibrated to my understanding of what you're looking for now. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. So, yeah, we're good. Maybe Saturday, 2 p.m. Yeah, sure. That works good in my schedule. Pencil them in for about 3 hours. Send them and be like, okay, I'm going to set what I'm going to do. Set the expectation right before you leave. Just be like, okay, I got us penciled in for 2 p.m. on Saturday. We're probably going to spend between 2 to 3 hours looking at some homes. I'm going to go back to my office, which is your home or whatever you want to do. I'm going to go back to my office. I'm going to pull some listings that are going to be best of your interest based on what we discussed today. I'll send them to you. I'll shoot you a quick text and then let me know within about 24 hours which ones you like best. We'll keep it to no less than 3, no more than 5, right? I always tell my buyers, don't look at more than 5 properties because you get a sense of overwhelm, right? So keep that in mind. Just tell them, hey, look, pick your best top 3 to 5 and we'll look at those. Sometimes there may not be up to that much, but again, don't go over 5. So I'm trying to say, okay? So just set the expectation when you leave. Like, you know what? We'll meet you at 2. I'll send you some properties, shoot you a text after that's sent. And then within about 24 hours, send me a list so I can have some time to book those in, get the direction store, and we'll go from there. After that, you're almost guaranteed to have that appointment solidified because you've been there, the next grouping of showings, because you've already been there. You've discussed what they're looking for. You've built some good credibility with them. You build a rapport, and you now know everything about them, right? You now know if they can work with you, and B, you can work with them. Does that make sense? So you're going to go show them homes the next time, and chances are that next group of showings, if they're serious, they're going to put an offer, right? It's that easy sometimes, right? So that is the ALM model: appointment, location, motivation. Guys, I have not done a buyer consultation in a while. I did do one recently for someone who I knew wasn't really ready yet, and I knew them. So I just want to get them set up on the right track for when they were ready. I'll take those from time to time, but majority of the time, especially given where my business plan is, I'm trying to work with people who are ready to go. So I'm okay to sacrifice my time if they're not necessarily ready. But again, it's a hit or miss. And chances are, guys, if they are shopping on Realtor and stuff already, and they've already gone as far as booking a showing, they're probably pretty interested. You can usually get an idea over the phone, even during that first phone call, by their tonality, stuff they may tell you over the phone, right? It all kind of comes out, right? So the other thing I'm going to touch on is, I really don't think there is much else to touch on, guys. So the ALM model has helped me solidify a lot of buyers over time. And guys, if you're not using this, get with the market. It's going to do you wonders. You're going to convert a lot of buyer ratios, and you're going to have a good year overall. Okay, so I hope that helps, guys. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. More than happy to help you guys out. And of course, we'll see you in the next one. Peace.